Testing, 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 testing. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Cut to the Chase by Cempaka Cut. This week me and Umar are joined by Nikolas right here. And yeah, I think you kick it off. Kick it off, Nikolas.
Hi.
You can introduce yourself or something.
uh, well, I mean, my name is Nikolas Shah. For all the Cempaka listeners, I'm from Junior One Hydra and Burang House. Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And me and Umar from Helang House. That was completely out of context, but okay. So what will we be talking about today?
Well, I mean, you asked us to talk about mentality and self development. You know.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about mentality, self development, all that jazz, all those things that we're gonna be talking about today, and yeah, I think let's get started on that. I think the first thing that we were gonna be talking about today is the narrative that we tell ourselves. So, Nicholas, would you like to go?
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, but before I start, is there
Mm-hmm.
anything that you want to ask, or I don't know,
I think
just something
I
you've been
think
interested
along the
about?
way,
Yeah, it will come
yeah, yeah,
naturally.
along the way, we're gonna have some questions, so don't worry. We're gonna yeah. So you can just tell us a bit about the thing because I haven't really we have I well for me I haven't really researched too much about the narrative we tell ourselves and all
I mean, no,
that
just
that thing.
about self development and stuff, cause that's
Uh,
pretty out of context, you know.
okay. I mean, okay. Along the way, when I think of something, let's get into that. But I think we're pretty interested about the first point that I just said just now, lah. So let's just start with that first.
Um, well, since you asked me about mentality and self development, I don't know why, but the first thing I thought about was the narrative we tell ourselves. Um, I mean, do you know what it is?
I think it's more of what we perceive ourselves to be. Is that
Yeah,
it?
yeah, 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 yeah. That's really close, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually pretty close. So,
Mm.
um, a lot of people like to believe that they are a certain person,
Mm.
I'm a good person or I'm a bad person, or I mean that's very general, but a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially teenagers, tend to think themselves that I'm a procrastinator, or I'm a high achieving
Mm-hmm.
student, and or I'm a good son or daughter, right? And the
Yeah.
and all these sound pretty fine until you realize that most teenagers have a problem disassociating themselves with that narrative. Because when you hear a good son or
Mm.
daughter, you don't think of all the arguments that you may have with your parents. When you think of a good student, you don't remember. You don't the thoughts that come to your head aren't the times where you don't submit your homework or when you don't feel motivated to do your homework. It's all highlighting the positives of that particular identity, and
Yeah.
and since most people have never really been taught how to build their own character, teenagers tend.
Mm-hmm.
Just people in general tend to let other people dictate them for themselves. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. It definitely
so
does.
so it's imagine this, like you're just born out of nowhere. I mean you're born out of your mom, and you know literally nothing out of the world, and when you grow up, the only thing that's been reinforced in your family is that, oh, why are you so lazy, or why haven't you uh, throw the garbage out, why are you so incapable of doing such simple
Mm.
things.
Yeah.
And when when people of authority figure or people who um, pose such a big impact in your life repeatedly tell you that
Yeah.
you're a person who's incapable of doing things, you tend to carry that
Mm-hmm.
narrative onto the rest of your lives. And for most people, it stays
Mm.
that way until they reach a breaking point, or they realize that they have something that's, I mean, they realize that the reason why they've been doing things the way they are is because of the way they've been, that the environment that they've grown up in, which is,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to understand that the narrative we tell ourselves is based upon what we grew up with. So
Yeah.
for me, just to give an example, I was raised to think that I was raised in an environment where shouting at other people were normal, and especially because my
Oh.
grandparents didn't come from a good background, so they tend to not
Oh no.
really have any emotional intelligence, and they tend to just spill whatever they
Oh.
feel. And so the traits that they had, which was to shout at one another to resolve the arguments, was something that was um, that I grew up with, and so I thought that was normal. So I was raised
Mm-hmm.
to be really defensive whenever people accuse me of something, which I think I'm not,
Ah.
which I actually am. So it like, due, like, because of me trying to defend myself from my grandparents'
Mm-hmm.
loud voices and like accusatory tones. I don't know if that's a word, but just basically like kind of like them, they're screaming at me, right? So
Yeah.
I developed a trait where I'll be really defensive if someone called out something I didn't like in me, and this
Oh.
stuck with me for a really long time and really made me kind of like a toxic, a really toxic person to be around for like 2 or 3, 4 years ago. I don't know, but
Ah.
ever since, I think I've worked a ton on that narrative, and I've changed myself to be a better person.
Yeah.
But
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but like I just wanted
Definitely.
to introduce that idea of narrative, because I just wanted to, in regards to mentality, is to realize that people are not their thoughts. So even if you think depressive things, you are not a depressed person. Even if you think, I mean,
Mm.
you're just not your thoughts, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, well, I think that leads me to another question. So, I think I don't know if a lot of people feel this right now, but for me especially, I think what I'm having right now is sort of, I don't know. It's like sort of an identity crisis, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't know what I am. I don't know who I am, because I think you said we're not our thoughts, and well, I don't know my thoughts anymore. It's a bit confusing if you think about this. So I mean, yeah, could you do you know a bit about that?
So what you're trying to say is that you have
Mm-hmm.
difficulty in understanding yourself.
Yeah, it's more of I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to achieve. It's like I don't know if I'm a good person or not, you know? I don't know, and I don't know if it's just me or the way I have been raised. Like, am I my authentic self right now? I don't know. So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
the very first thing before we talk about all these things
Mm-hmm.
is to let
Yeah.
you define to yourself what a good person is, what a bad person is, and just you can't say that you want to be a good person if you have no measures for what a good person is. So
Yeah.
like a good person for you could be just helping your mom throw the trash like once a week, and a good person
Mm-hmm.
for someone else might be to donate a bunch of money to um, donations and charities and whatnot. So it's really important to define
Mm-hmm.
yourself what a good person is, number one, and number two,
Mm-hmm.
it's to not worry. Like you have to understand that because we live in a large community, there must
Mm-hmm.
be balance in the community. So people developed labels for a typical good person. So a typical good person
Yeah.
in Malaysia would be someone that helps the elderly, respectful to the elderly, um,
Mm-hmm.
follows all the laws and regulation. With recent news, do not drive while being drunk. So that's what a good person
Yeah.
is in the Malaysian community. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to realize that although these are all good things that these are good things that we should do on a daily basis. It's important to find out for yourself what you want to be, as in like to truly, truly, truly listen to yourself without judgment. That's why. Have you tried meditating?
I have actually. I've been trying to meditate these past. I mean, I've just started. It's only been like 3 2 3 weeks of me meditating, but it's like 10 minutes. No, not 10 minutes. It's like 15 minutes a day only.
That's actually really impressive. I couldn't do past like 10 minutes per day, but
Really?
like let's break down what a meditation is, right? So in
Okay.
the very basic sense, meditation is where people sit down, in a relaxed posture, with their backs upright, and they for beginners, they
So down.
just
Yeah, yeah. So,
they just breathe in and out. They breathe in and out for a set amount of minutes, and to just focus on their breath and to not think thoughts, right? That's what people think. They
Yeah.
think meditation is to not think anything, but in reality,
Yeah.
meditation is a tool to distinguish your thoughts from yourself. So
Exactly.
here's an analogy. Like, um, imagine you're about to cross the street, and then there's a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
cars, and you're the person next to the street. So the cars that's going by are your thoughts, and you, the person, is
Mm-hmm.
just on the sidewalk. So it's really important to understand that you're not your thoughts. So when you meditate, it's really
Mm-hmm.
crucial to listen to your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
thank you. But so it's really crucial to in meditation to understand to listen to yourself, because a lot of people think a bunch of things throughout the day, and meditation,
Mm.
it's really important for effective meditation to listen to your thoughts, to notice your thoughts, to be able
Yeah.
to dissociate yourself with your thoughts. So in
Mm.
order for you to try and find out what you want to be, and to get yourself away from, I assume, the anxiety you're feeling from trying to find yourself, a really good
Mm-hmm.
step is to just not do anything crazy, but to just try your best to listen and acknowledge yourself too. So what I would say is to, like, to just listen to your thoughts, like, no, purposely consciously notice the things you think per day, um, what you do in a day, and what your emotional state throughout the day. So if you're able
Mm.
to notice these things and really, like, pay attentive attention and to not judge whatsoever, I think that will bring you a
Mm-hmm.
step closer to building a person you want to be.
That makes so much sense right now. That actually does. Yeah, and I agree with you for the meditating part. I think it's just when I do it, it's not to stop thinking, but rather let my feelings just come in, just sink in, and pass through me, and yeah, just feel it,
to truly
and let it go.
embrace them.
Yes, exactly. You're right, Uma. Uh, so yeah, we have, yeah. Uma, you have anything you wanna ask?
Mm, so let's talk about like meditation a bit. So, how would you advise someone who's never done it before, or like someone who's tried before but maybe like it's 1 or 2 times and they failed lah? Like, what would you give to these people? What would you tell them? Like, why meditation is so needed and why it can help you, and what are the best steps you can take to make sure it works
Okay,
for you?
well, for one, let me just clarify that I'm not a person who actively meditates. Just to clarify that and put that out of the way. And number two, recognize that meditation is just a tool, and the
Mm.
tool, what this tool is for something called mindfulness. And I think mindfulness is in essence to notice something. So basically, meditation is just one of the many ways to try and notice the things you think of and to actively put yourself in the present. So because we're going to talk about meditation, I'm going to share how I did it in the first place. So at first, I definitely cannot do what Abner did, which is 15 minutes of silence. No way in hell can I do that. So what I first did was, I took my phone and I set a timer for 3 minutes, and I sat down in a
Mm-hmm.
cross-legged position. And I have a window here, so I like to, like, sit down on the
Yeah.
floor and look out and well, not look out, but I like to
Ah.
just breathe in and out and close my eyes. And whenever you notice that you're thinking of something else, whenever you notice that you're going down a rabbit hole of, um, oh, maybe I should talk to my mom about this, or maybe I should talk to my friend about it. Oh, but maybe I should talk to blah, blah, blah. Ignore that. Whenever you notice that train of thoughts, actively bring yourself to your breath. So just keep breathing in and out, and just every time you breathe in, count one. Every time you breathe out, count two, and then count up to 10, and then repeat that. And most of the times, you should be. I mean, if you're able to really put yourself in the present, time will just fly by before you even notice it ends. But if that's too hard for people, I recommend this app called Headspace, which I personally like because the
Oh,
guy's voice
I
was
also
super
use
soothing.
it.
Yeah,
I
it's
also
super
use
great,
it.
super great. Because his voice was
It's
super soothing.
amazing, actually.
Yeah, his voice was super
Yeah.
soothing, and he has like just like 7 sessions. Um, no commitment. There's like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of a preference. So if you like people to guide you to meditations, and on the topic, there's also guided meditations where you listen to someone else guide you through the meditation. So don't feel scared that you don't know what to do. There's actually things out there that teach you what to do. So, if you're a beginner, I would recommend guided meditation on an app like Headspace or just anything on YouTube. And yeah,
So it's like those that tell you like first gently sit down and then close your eyes.
yeah,
Like they'll tell you the process, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
process,
They're
yeah,
telling you the process, so you don't just sit there and do, and just don't so you know what you're doing, and you
yeah,
have
Yeah.
reassurance
yeah,
on why you're doing it. So, yeah, it's really good. If anyone wants to meditate, you can try that out. Yeah, and like Nicolas said, it's free, and I mean the first seven are free, right? The first 10 sessions or
yeah, yeah.
something
The
are
first
free.
seven,
Yeah,
I think seven.
seven. Yeah, 7 sessions. So no commitment there. You can try it out and see how it feels for yourself. And it's only like, it only takes like 3, 5, 10 minutes, if I mean you can choose. But yeah. Uh, moving on. I think talking about meditation. You're not really familiar with meditation. Because like you said, you don't really do it that often, right?
Yeah, no,
Do you do it often?
no.
Yeah, you don't. Okay. So from your self development journey, what has been really prominent for you? What have you focused on so
Okay.
far?
Well, number one, I didn't realize that I had grown until I had grown. So that kind of makes no
Mm.
sense, but think of it this way. I had no idea that I had already changed into a different person, and by the time I did, a year had pretty much went by. So,
Wow.
number one, I think my self development journey was, it felt super quick yet super long at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
and okay, well, just to give some context, in 2017, I mean, obviously, I was still a young kid,
Mm-hmm.
and a young kid, and I didn't know much of the world. So, I had developed a lot of toxic traits. So that made
Mm-hmm.
my relationships and friendships really tough to manage. Even with my family, I bet I didn't have too much of a good
Yeah.
relationship with my family because I was really angry all the time. I would lash out all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I had really toxic traits like um I don't want to into it, but that was pretty toxic, and
Ah.
I just yeah, it really put me in a bad state. I was in the arguably most depressed state I've been in my entire
Oh
life.
no.
So it took about a year and a half to really get out of that rut. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say the number one thing that helped me in that phase, was reflecting. And I didn't even know I had reflected until like this year. So what 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 made me realize that I've been reflecting was what made me realize I built a habit of reflecting, which made me a better person, was because I realized that back in that year, every time after an argument I had with my family, my mom would always ask me, do you ever reflect on yourself? And I remember hearing that phrase and getting super pissed and getting super frustrated that like she didn't get me, and I felt super like disconnected with her, and I just felt like she was ignoring me in a sense. So
Mm.
every time she asked me that phrase reflection, I just kept thinking about it. I kept thinking, what the hell is she talking about? Like, what the hell is reflection? I don't get it. And somehow I think partially thanks to my introverted nature, I spent
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time by myself, and in that time, I had nothing to do but to think about the things that already happened. So I'm sure everyone here has like
Uh,
a really bad habit of thinking about the past constantly. I'm sure.
yeah.
So that was basically what I was doing for like an entire year. I couldn't focus in class. I slept in class, but after I got home from school, I would just keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And it wasn't until I went on Reddit actually. And when I was on Reddit, that was the first time I was on Reddit. I went to this subreddit called relationships. It's not exclusively for couples. It's for just anything, with people, for
uh,
people with bonds. And from upon reading
yeah.
those posts, I started to recognize that, oh, I was actually toxic, because before that I didn't know that I was a bad person. I didn't know it. I just thought that people couldn't get me. I wasn't in the wrong. I was
Mm-hmm.
always in the right. I was narcissistic. I had a big ego. And so after reading those posts, and with time as a big element that helped me process these things, I realized that I was a
Mm-hmm.
toxic person. I didn't like who I was. And so at the same time, I was also in my heaviest weight in my entire life, but at 72 kg. And
Oh my god.
um, I stepped on the scale, and I was like, what the hell? And then there was another time where I was watching something on my phone, and then the video ended, and I looked at my reflection. I was like, what the hell? And at the same time, there was production. I think it was Happy Days. It was just like the only production I was in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And uh, I, I realized that I needed to change things. Like, because of how long I've been stuck in the same place, all that resentment built up and made me decide to finally change things. And so I started with the most simple thing, which was a great advice that one person told me, which I'll always appreciate, was to eat an apple. And I start my very first step into my self development journey was to eat an apple. And
Mm-hmm.
beyond that, I started learning how to cook my own food. So I no longer eat Maggi mee all the time, and I ate healthy food for dinner instead. Um, and then the very next thing I did was to clean my room, and I cannot explain how good I felt after cleaning my room for the first time in pretty much my entire life. Like, just it, like when you put your inner energy and reflect it on the real world. So I was feeling really
Mm-hmm.
resentful, and I put the energy, kind of like throwing the energy away by folding my clothes, throwing away clothes that I didn't wear anymore. It felt like that hateful dark side part of me was slowly seeping out and leaving me. So I felt really great at the end of the day. So for anyone trying to get just a mental clean over, just clean your room. I'm serious. Your mental space is reflected in your physical space. So if you
Mm-hmm.
consciously take care of your environment, you consciously take care of your mental environment. So the very first thing you can do is to just clean your physical space. That's really helpful. And the next thing I did was to just do really shitty push-ups a day, many shitty push-ups a day. I didn't realize how bad my form
Really.
was until like 2 months later. And then I decided to go down a fitness journey, and so I committed to an exercise routine for like a whole year, and I was really fit. I was really happy with my body. I was really happy with where I was, and um, I wouldn't say that I liked exercising, and I still don't. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's really crucial that I went through that phase where I dedicated myself to something.
Yeah,
So for people
definitely.
who don't know what to do with the day, or are trying to cope with things that bad things that they've just went through, I think the very best thing you could do is obviously to recognize that you need time to process those emotions. And the second best thing to do is to invest yourself entirely into something. So what my investment at the time was to work out and get myself a better body, which I did. And after a year, I decided to quit, and I still don't regret it. But I'm really happy that I did it, and I invested. And before I knew it, I was already feeling much. I didn't feel the heavy weight whenever I woke up and had to go to school. I didn't feel. I just stopped feeling bad about a lot of things that I did, and I just
Mm.
grew. Like when it feels really tough and overwhelming when you first start out, but honestly, time flies. Like it's already July. Like for me, my birthday felt like it was like a month ago.
Yeah.
Like what the hell? So, just really commit yourself to something. I think that'll be a really good thing to do for your self development journey, because not everyone is in a good enough mental state to focus on themselves. Everyone hears about self love and self care, but
Yeah.
not many people genuinely are able to preach it. So I think a very crucial phase before you focus on yourself is to prove to yourself that you can do things. So for me,
Mm.
that the thing that I could do was lose weight. And for you, I don't know what it could be. It could be Cempaka Cut. It could be whatever. So I think it's really important for you to recognize that you are capable of achieving things. And after that, hopefully, you can invest more time and effort into understanding yourself. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense actually. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, okay, that's something new that I didn't really think of. Uh, I think there's another question that I want to bring up right now, and I think it's especially. I mean, you were talking about how you you were in the Reddit relationships thing just now.
Oh yeah.
So, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, back then. So, I mean, what can you and then you were saying it was a bit toxic or whatnot in relationships with people. So what do you perceive as a toxic relationship compared to a not toxic one to compared to
Well,
a healthy one?
first and foremost, the most important thing in the world, communication. Like it's the only thing in the world which in our day and age is practiced every day. I'm communicating with you right now, and I communicate with my parents on a daily basis. So, and a lot of people come from not healthy households, and what that means is that we don't develop healthy ways of communicating with people. And so it's really important that although we're able to think of all these complex thoughts, our brain likes to think, our brain likes to associate things, right? So that's why racism is such a big issue, because when we see that a lot, when it's portrayed in the media that black people are violent and stuff, everyone, I mean those who are close minded like to associate the color black with violence, and that's why racism is a thing. But I mean beyond that, in regards to toxic relationship, the reason why not everyone, well, most people don't want to be toxic on purpose. You have to realize that and acknowledge that the reason you're toxic is because you want something. You could either want another person's validation, another person's interest in you, to give back the interest that you have in them, you know and you have to realize that these toxic behaviors are just a means to something that you actually want. So if you're craving for someone's attention really badly, a toxic trait that I had was to constantly look at like their last scene, and to always wonder, oh, what are they doing now? Or maybe they're talking to another
Yeah.
person right now, or maybe they're doing something else right now and they're not telling me. So that was a really toxic trait that developed from my desire to be with them constantly, which is kind of, well, it's not toxic in a way, but it's very unhealthy. It can develop a lot of
Yeah.
unhealthy things. So a lot of things that I would define as toxic in a relationship is gaslighting, manipulation, lying. Honestly, like honesty is the biggest thing everyone should uphold in their lives, because no one that you have to realize that there's a big fundamental to your life, which is yourself. And if you lie to yourself, how are you expected to live the rest of your life in a healthy
Yeah.
manner? So the very first thing you should do is to not lie to yourself. When you think these toxic
Yeah.
things, you should really acknowledge that that you're toxic. It's really important to understand. I mean, to acknowledge and be aware of what toxicity is, and to notice it in yourself, and to be able to have self awareness. So when 10 people tell you that you are pretty self conscious and you keep insisting, I'm not self conscious, there's a big gap between reality and your narrative. So this is where narrative comes in, the
Definitely.
things you tell yourself. it's really important to align the things you tell yourself with what people tell you. So obviously you can't take everyone's comments to heart, but you should also be able to, um, especially for your close friends, you have to ask your close friends and those who won't lie to you and those who will be genuine to you. Ask them who you are as a person, and then check with them if that aligns with who you think you are. So that's a really good step to recognize if you're toxic. So if you don't think you're toxic, try and ask your friends, hey, have there been any moments that have made you uncomfortable, or have there been any moments that made you feel like I was a bit like just communicating in an unhealthy manner. So it could be a lot of things really. It's such a diverse topic, but it's really important to have that self-awareness, not just with friends but with your family, especially your family, to and like to get rid of the assumption, because if two people are not on the same page, you can't really move forward in the same pace. So
Mm.
um I forgot your question, but I kind of want to conclude with just be really self-aware of how toxic you are by asking the people around you, and just looking up what are toxic traits and see that, and when you notice yourself going, oh shit, that kind of sounds like me, I think that should be something to be worked on. So yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have to bleep out your swear word, unfortunately.
Oh crap, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay,
Right.
it's okay. Yeah, no, you answered the question quite well, because what I asked you was what do you perceive as a toxic relationship as opposed to a healthy kind of relationship. So, yeah, we have that as an answer. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, wait, is my mic working? Yeah, my mic's working. I forgot to tell you, Nicholas, our podcasts are around like 30 minutes long, so we're a bit over time. So we'll end with a few more questions. And I think I just want to ask you these things. Is what's your stance on, because we Cempaka, our school lah, if for the ones, I mean, if you're watching and not from our school, which I don't know if anyone not from our school is gonna watch, but it's okay. Whatever. Recently we had a guidance counselor come in, Miss Teresa. That was really cool.
That's
For
cool.
me it was
Yeah.
yeah. It was really interesting. I mean, for this year, right? She joined this year, if I'm not mistaken. She joined this year. So what's your stance on getting guidance counseling?
Dude, I love
That's
it.
what it's called. Yeah.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
I think I think I was the first person that like immediately went to her after I heard that guidance counselor was a thing, and just
Man,
shout out to Erica for bringing in the guidance counselor. Thanks to her thing
definitely.
as a
Thank
student
you.
council. So thank you, Erica. A moment of silence. Um, but I think that guidance counseling is so helpful. And why is that? It's because um they have a number one, they're not more often than not, they're not affiliated with you in any sense, so they have a really unbiased view of whatever you tell them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you're worried about telling your friends and having judgment, or if you're worried about telling your family and having judgment, or just you're worried that their opinions are not going to be very helpful to you, it's really really beneficial to ask from a counselor because they have an unbiased
Mm,
opinion. And most of their what guidance counselor basically does is to identify your problem and offer you um, some 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 tips that you can apply in your life. So it's very important to recognize
yeah.
that going to a guidance counselor won't fix you. However, going to a guidance counselor will help you understand yourself, and by understanding yourself, you're able to identify your issue, and it might
Mm-hmm.
it might stem from a really deep rooted problem from your childhood, like trust issues or whatnot. And it's really important to
Yeah.
identify the problem or have someone who's professional identify the problem for you, and they will be able to give you steps on how to overcome that. So um, I don't know if I want to share this, but I went into the guidance. The reason why I went to the guidance counselor was because I had a big issue with my emotions, and I looked up online everywhere, and I couldn't find anything that really sounded like my problem. So
Mm-hmm.
with unique cases, it's really helpful to go to a real guidance counselor and be able to talk to them and interact with them and have them dissect your problem. And it's and when I went to the counseling, I went for like I think 10 weeks, and when I went, it's not that she didn't really fix my problem, but rather she gave me a lot of insights that unlocked a different perspective towards my problem. So
Mm.
uh, she helped me realize that there isn't I wasn't really I didn't really have an actual mental illness, so that's one
Mm-hmm.
big problem out of the way. And she was able to help me. So I offered her a few things that happened in my days and why that had a bad impact on me and why that was a problem for me. And she was able to like conversate with me and maybe give me a few reasons as to why I may be feeling the way I'd felt. And it's really cool because when we are, have you heard of the term tunnel vision?
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
when we tend to be stuck on a problem, we tend to tunnel vision ourselves and are not able to think outside of the box. And with a counselor, they're able to give you, like I said, a different perspective, and it's really cool because it. I mean, I don't know if I'm wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong, but they're psychologists, right? Counselors are psychologists,
Mm-hmm.
and so they've been studying the way the mind works for a
Mm-hmm.
long time, and there's a lot that can be learned from understanding yourself. You have to understand that for you to truly be able to live a content life, you must be able to learn how to um, cope with your own problems. And a counselor could be a really good first step for people who don't know how to do that, um, and and just give you the skills you need to identify the problem in your life and be able to just think up to understand the reasons why you could be feeling the way you're feeling. I think a big part of going guidance counseling is to find out the why. Why are you feeling the way you're feeling?
Yeah.
And to get really deep into that why and to have it be unjudged. So it could be something we're really ashamed of in society, but it's not something that I mean it's just because you feel it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's a human emotion. It's just that
Mm.
people around you are telling you it's wrong. And with a counselor, they tend
Yeah.
to not have that judgment, so you're able to really dig down and to understand yourself without any judgment. And I can't stress how important that is, because a lot of people are scared to say what they say because of how people around them think. So if you think you have that problem,
Mm.
it's really cool to get a guidance counselor, because I don't know, it's just I think I want to at least give it a try, and also recognize the fact that not every guidance counselor is the same. So one might be right for you and one might not be right for you. For me, my first therapist wasn't right for me at all. She was really robotic and just asked really
Mm.
textbook questions. But with Miss Teresa, I think she helped me a lot. So shout out to her too. Thank you, Miss Teresa.
Ooh. Let's go,
So
Miss
yeah.
Teresa. That's great. I mean, there's a bunch of other questions I want to ask, but we're going a bit over time here again. So, I mean, we could do this another time,
We'll continue
or I'll
part
ask
two,
you after
part two.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Part
Part two
two.
with Nicholas. We would love a part two, by the way. But we'll figure that out later on. Umar, do you have any question that you want to ask?
So I think quickly, right? Like we will always see the posting about rag lunches and people like I know you had a talk a few times about like talking about habits or something during the rag lunches sessions. We have been having them to Zoom lately. So like I think people understand that they exist, but would you like to like share as to what actually happens? Maybe you can get people to come and join.
Okay, well, Reg Lunch is essentially a space where you interact with two teachers, Miss Christabel and Miss Teresa, about number one, how your week went. Everyone shares how their weeks went there. And number two, they often share a topic which is not taught in school and is actually really essential in life, because these are things that you have to learn about yourself if you want to be able to um, just just well, I mean it's just really important to understand yourself, because if you can't understand yourself, you're never going to be able to get out of your head and understand the people around you and interact with people healthily. So amongst the things that they talked about emotional intelligence, which is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like we kind of went down the meditation um, hole as well, where it's really helpful for emotional intelligence. And then for me, I presented habits, so it's kind of like a subtopic, habits, and we talked about numerous other things which I cannot recollect
Yeah.
right now, but it's essentially
I think the other week we talked about. You weren't there for that session for some reason. It was last week's
it
session.
was
We
this
talked
week.
about happiness.
I know, I know.
This
I
week,
didn't
this
see
yeah.
I didn't see the post. I forgot.
Oh no!
I wanted to go. I was looking forward to it, but I totally forgot. So,
That's
they
alright.
talked about happiness, and it's actually such an interesting topic, happiness, and I would love to dissect it, but we're out of time. But I think the topics in Reg Lunch are super interesting, if you're interested in it. Like if, yeah.
Yeah, just give it a go. Give it a go. It doesn't take too much of your time. It's just like 30
Oh, you
minutes.
want me to
of
talk
your
about
day.
happiness?
Oh no 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 no! Not now! Not now!
Okay.
Part two when we
Okay,
come back.
okay, okay.
But
What? That was Reg Lunch.
yeah,
I really
I think that's all the time we have for today. Is there anything you want to tell everyone, the audience, Nicholas, about why it's important to know about these things and all of that, or anything that you want to say actually?
I want to tell everyone that everyone has to realize that they are the most important person in their lives. So
Mm.
you cannot live for other people if you don't love yourself, because you're just gonna end up feeling shitty at the end of the day.
Okay.
Please censor that. But yeah, just please everyone realize that you're very important, and to spend time on yourself without judgment, because only then will you be able to feel genuine emotions without worry.
Mm.
So yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I think that wraps it all up for today. Thank you, Nicholas, for joining us today. Here we have Nikolas Shah talking to us about mentality and self-development today. I think next, yeah, we'll probably have part two. I don't know. Do you want a part two, Nicholas?
I think that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. So, this is Nikolas Shah today with my co-host Umar, Fazlan, and our editors Olivia and Azuzay, Adam, Azuzay, whatever you want to call it. We'll just put the names down in the descriptions or something. But yeah, thank you for watching. Come back next week on Friday, where we will be talking about something else with probably someone else. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. And yeah, goodbye.